shall we get into some BFL news?
Well, sure, Joe.
All right. What went down in the BFL Super Tournaments this week?
Joe,
Wait,
I
first,
almost feel like the way you said this,
that was
you
not,
don't want me to say.
No. You're right. As soon as I said it, I realized what I did. No. Jody, what's up next? Let's do that over. What's up next?
Well, Joe, it's now time for the BFL Weekly Update.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Number one, the Arky Division. They fished on Lake Ouachita, site of the 2015 Forest Wood Cup. Will Cranston caught 8 fish for 17 pounds, 11 ounces to pick up the win, and he's going to talk about that right now.
I fish shallow ridges, or not ridges, shallow water humps with topwater. I caught every one of my fish on topwater, some sort of topwater bait. I had 5 different topwater baits on.
No kidding.
Yeah. Cool. It was a tough tournament. I mean, it was brutal. Had 5 fish the first day. One on a little prop bait, looked like a brim. And then we had an hour and a half fog delay the first day. And then I went for a long time. I caught a bunch of short fish. Then I pulled in the back of a creek with some matted grass, and I caught 3 on a frog. And then I pulled out on some main lake hump and caught 1 Kentucky on a repo late payment.
Okay.
And then the second day, I started out was in the same area. Now, I had big bass the first day on the I'm a bait. I'm a prop bait. I forgot, it's like a Gila something. It's called a Gila P or something like that, or Gila prop or something. I can't remember. I just bought them a couple weeks ago. And then the second day I went to the same spot, starting out where I caught the big fish, and I caught 2 keepers in there. And I went for a long time, and I fished. I went to where I caught the Kentucky at 12:30 and caught my biggest fish on a repo man itself, the big repo man. And that was it, 3 fish.
So you heard him talk you through his day and through his tournament, and he said it was really tough. But the baits he actually used were a little bit confusing. So he used Paycheck Baits Repo Man, a Repo Man Late Payment, which is a smaller version of it. He threw the I'm going with Helips. It is kind of spelled weird or said weird. I'm not really sure. And a Spro Poppin' Frog. And that was the deal for him. Those were his topwater weapons of choice.
Are these going to be the winning baits next year for the Cup?
I would say they could be. I mean, we saw topwaters play big time last time the Cup was there. A lot of the guys who were not Scott Martin were catching them on topwaters of guys who made the top 10. So I think we'll see them play for sure, would be my guess.
Cool. I hope that they're catching a little more fish than just 8.
Yeah, well, they'll probably be fishing at a little bit better time of the year, a little earlier. And they are FLW Tour pros, some of whom know how to fish and can figure things out.
Will Cranston got it done this week, so congratulations, Will.
Thank you. I'm not Will. Good Lord.
I'll take his credit, though. Thank you.
I will. Thank you very much. I'll pass that along to him.
All right.
I'm pretty glad that you haven't brought up how close I was in my predictions yet.
Oh, good thinking.
I had a feeling I had a really bad week.
Yeah, well, you go into the next one. I'm going to load that up quick.
All right, so the next one was the Choo Division. On Lake Guntersville, Kevin McMahon caught 35 pounds, 8 ounces, and he's going to talk about that right now.
I was fishing grass edges with a mop jig, and that was my early day pattern. And then as the sun came up, I flipped scattered grass edges with a hack attack 1.25 ounce jig, and I also threw a 6-inch slow sink my kicker bites came on.
Okay, cool. And were you throwing that bull shad sort of in the same areas?
I was predominantly, yes. I had a few areas that were just bull shad areas, but I threw it pretty much everywhere I went. And it's not a bait you get a lot of bites on, but when you get a bite, it's generally a good one. I'd say really one of the biggest keys to the deal was getting a low boat draw. As it turned out, there were at least 3 of my competitors that had planned to start on the same water that I did, and luckily for me, they were 3 people that I trust and could talk to before the event. And when they found out I had the low boat draw, they said, "Where are you starting?" And I told them, and they all just about had a heart attack. They were like, "Oh no, that's where we were going to start." But they were respectful of it, and they told me where they wanted to fish, and I stayed off of their water. And it's nice to have people that you can talk to and that are respectful of what you're going to do.
So he talked a little bit about his pattern. The one thing I want to mention is that he was throwing his bull shad, and he threw it around his grass spots, but he also was throwing it on deep bridges, out, around pilings, around vertical structure, and around the edges of those, fishing for some sort of suspended fish, and that's how he caught one of his big fish, his kicker, on day 2. Joe, I'm not done.
What?
I'm done.
Okay.
We just finished Gunnersville.
I've just found the weight predictions. I knew you were on Gunnersville still, but I'm pulling up the weight predictions. What was his total?
All right, Kevin McMahon had 35 pounds, 8 ounces. I'm guessing I pegged like 40 and change for this one.
47.
Yeah.
Is what you pegged. You were a little bit off on this one. Going back to the Arky Division, 17-11 was Will Cranston won with. You predicted 25. So.
Yeah. I told you, I'm pretty sure I had a really bad week.
It's the classic Jody White optimism. You're always thinking big bass are coming.
And this is more than optimism. Although I believe almost all these guys said that day 2 was really tough. So I think there must have been some nationwide weather situation on day 2. Every one of these guys had a hard time on day 2. It seemed like. So I think maybe the weights would have been better if it had been a little less strange on day 2.
Sure. Well, congratulations, Kevin McMahon,
all right.
Gunnersville champion.
There we go. Moving on to the Gator Division. On Lake Okeechobee, Ron Veal caught 53 pounds, 14 ounces. Caught them all not all of them, but most of them on a 4x4 jigs, Brandon McMillan
Signature Series
swim jig with the McMillan Secret color. And I'm going to let him talk about that right now.
I found them on Thursday in practice, and I didn't really get into them really hard. But every cast, I had a bite, and I shook it off, and I just got out of there. I didn't even want to even try to see what was there.
Okay.
Because the bite's been so tough, and I didn't want nobody to see me in there or anything, because it's kind of a community hole, but I was fishing just off of it, away from everybody. The first day, it was rainy, a little bit windy. It was overcast. I knew the bite was going to last, quite a while. I got in there. I started throwing a Gambler Big Easy, which is the bait that I found them on. What I noticed was the wind was blowing the opposite direction, and they weren't eating it. So I picked up a swim jig. Brandon McMillan and I are team partners on Lake Okeechobee, so me and him throw a swim jig a lot. So I picked that up, started throwing it, and about the third cast, caught a 5-pounder, and she blew up on it pretty aggressively. So from there, I just rode with it. I kept changing colors out until whatever the conditions wanted, and just started catching them on the swim jig. I caught a 5, and then I went in. I caught my limit pretty quick after doing that. But what I was fishing, I was on the edge of a canal bank, a ditch bank, and it was lined with grass. And what I was doing is throwing that jig about 3 feet up into the grass and pulling it out. And as soon as it broke free from that grass, I'd let it drop, and they'd eat it.
Besides his weed edge fish with the swim jig, he also caught a 9-pounder on day 1.
Nice.
Flipping reeds. And I believe he was flipping a Zoom speed craw. I'm not 100% sure on that. And so that was a big key to him, but he was never able to get that late sort of flippin' Reed's kicker bite on day 2.
What does McMillan secret colored mean? Or like, can you tell listeners who maybe don't know what that is?
It's kind of green on the bottom and white on the top. Or maybe it's white on the bottom and green on the top.
Okay, but it's like a multicolored kind of deal?
Yeah, it's basically a 2-color skirt.
Okay.
Kind of like maybe, I think the color is Houdini, is what that color is. It's a popular it's a popular soft swim bait, Big Easy type color down there.
Okay. So Veal won with 53 pounds 14 ounces. What do you think your prediction was?
I'm gonna guess I said like 50 maybe.
You said 45.
Yeah.
Undershot this one, so you made up for it from your previous ones.
Well, good. It's all going to even out.
Congratulations, Ron Veal. Getting it done on Lake Okeechobee.
All right. And now, moving on to the LBL division on Kentucky Lake, Brent Anderson, who we've talked about before, caught 41 pounds, 1 ounces, picked up the win.
1 ounces?
Yes, 1 ounces. In doing so, he tied David Young and Mike Trombley for the most BFL Super Tournaments won since 2000.
Okay.
Mike Trombley, David Young, all have 4.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And this was
the second one in the last...
of the year, right?
Of the year, yeah. I think
it was the Music City Division?
The Music City Division 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yeah.
He also picked up the win. So
nice.
You know, he was talking about it, and he talked about how he really feels comfortable in Kentucky Lake on Kentucky Lake in September, and it sounds like obviously it played out, and it's played out in the past for him. All his other, super tournament wins are on Kentucky Lake in the fall.
So, real quick, he won with 41 pounds, 1 ounce. Guess what your prediction was?
42 pounds.
Someone else is pretty dialed in on Kentucky Lake in September, too. You said 41 pounds. Missed it by 1 ounce. Nice work.
Nice. Yes, finally.
Do we have some audio from Brent?
I do, and we're going to let that roll right now.
All right.
And basically, all I was on was a topwater deal. I had no deep fish to go to this time. I had no mid-range stump fish to go to. So, I basically threw the Strike King Sexy Dog for 2 days and in the Paris area around scattered grass. I was fishing 3 to 6 foot deep, and it was on main lake flats. In practice, what I really like to do this time of year is throw the topwater over gravel bars, and the grass was actually going to be my backup pattern. But I really felt like that was my best way to catch a limit. So I went to the grass and ended up catching, I think by noon I had 23.5 pounds, and I spent the rest of the day trying to catch bigger fish, even bigger fish off of my gravel bar type stuff, and I never had a bite. So the next day I was just going to stay with the grass, and when I got there that morning, I actually started on the stretch. The first day, it was my 4th stop where I caught my fish. So I started there on day 2, and it took me about 10 casts to hit the school. And once I hit them, in the first hour, I had at least 30 explosions on my Sexy Dog, and I only hooked 2 of them. And I don't know, man, they were just hitting it so hard, they were knocking it 3 or 4 feet in the air, and it would hit the water, and they would hit it again, and they would blow it up all the way about 10 feet from the boat, and they would stop. And, I didn't know what to do other than just keep throwing. I kept thinking eventually, they're going to get it. I mean, they were big ones, 4 and 5 and 6 pounders. And at about 9 o'clock, I had 2 fish, and actually, I take that back. I think I had a limit by about 9:30, but it wasn't during that initial flurry where I was getting all the bites. Once it kind of slowed down, I'd get a bite, every 15 or 20 minutes, but they were getting it better than they were when they were just crushing it that morning.
So that was how Brent did it. Joe.
Congratulations, Brent Anderson.
Awesome.
Second of the year.
I know, he's on fire. Moving on to the Shenandoah Division. Is it Shenandoah? Shenandoah?
I think it's Shenandoah.
All right. On Smith Mountain Lake, Thomas Wooten caught 28 pounds, 12 ounces over the course of this 2-day event, and I'm going to let him talk about that right now.
Yeah, I mean, they was pretty much the same thing. Day one, you know, I was fishing shallow, and it was the first day of, you know, of a high pressure system. So, you know, I think that's the reason why I still called them good on day one. Day two kind of slacked off because it was the second day of high pressure, and I think it kind of knocked them in the head. But, you know, my fish was shallow, you know, around docks and skipping docks and, you know, stuff like that.
So besides fishing around docks, you know, the bait he skipped was mostly a Senko. He also caught a few fish on a topwater, fishing in the area of those same docks early in the morning. And he was sort of targeting docks that had like a vein of rock near them, that weren't just on, you know, flat mud areas, but had some rock next to them. And so that was the deal for him.
Cool. 28-12 was the winning weight from Thomas Wooten. Jody White's prediction, 34 pounds.
Yeah. I should have
a little high on that one.
I knew I was high on that one when I wrote it. I should have picked less for that one. Smith Mountain is tough in the fall. I mean, I love that lake, but it does get pretty tough in the fall.
All right, congratulations to Thomas Wooten, tearing it up on Smith Mountain Lake.
Yeah.
Last one of the week.
Last one of the week, South Carolina Division on Lake Wylie. Greg Ricard caught 29 pounds, 13 ounces. It was the 7th time he's won a BFL in South Carolina. And he was, according to our tournament reports, the info we get in, he caught him on a spinnerbait and a jig, fishing cover, you know, up shallow in the backs of pockets. Wasn't able to get in touch with him to write the press release out and to get his quotes and learn the full deal on how he caught his fish. But that's what we've got from the tournament. And also of note, Brian New, Coingler Forest Wood Cup champion, finished 4th on the pro side.
Really?
Or on the boater side, rather.
Okay. Cool.
So that's something interesting.
Definitely. Ricard's winning weight of 29 pounds, 13 ounces. Jody, do you know what your prediction was?
I have no idea on this one.
You were pretty close. 29 pounds was your call. So,
all right,
13 ounces off. That's not bad.
I basically went 2 for 6.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Which, you know, I suppose is pretty good if I was playing baseball.
Congratulations to BFL Super Tournament Lake Wylie champion, Greg Ricard.
And that has been the BFL Weekly Update. For more like this, check out the rest of the FLW podcast at flwoutdoors.com or on iTunes.